what's still coming out now, I haven't been into the training ground for a number of weeks, is the lack of clarity and communication at the time. And to be honest, Mark, there's no one to speak to. There's no board of directors. There hasn't been a CEO there for a number of years. There's no, as it is these days, a sporting director.
There's none of that, Chris. There's no kind of executive level between
No.
head coach and owner and chair.
No. I mean, basically, people will get an email saying, we know times are hard, it's very difficult, we're trying to resolve the situation, but that's it. The players then, as you can imagine, they just want some answers to a few questions. And I suppose what they're looking at is, who do we speak to? But at Sheffield Wednesday, you have no one. And the owner, I never spoke to him in 20 months, not once. I suppose the real upsetting part of all this is that actually it's the not knowing. It's the not knowing if you're going to get paid, not knowing if it's going to be sold, not knowing if we can fulfill a fixture. It's the not knowing for the players, staff and the supporters.
Chris, thank you very much for talking to us. How difficult individually and how difficult collectively have the past few months been?
Well, to be honest, chappers, I've got to start off by saying I've just left a wonderful football club in many ways. I've said it to many people that it's the most dysfunctional football club I've ever been at, ever. The support and what the football club means to the community is I didn't realise until I joined, just 20 months ago. But particularly the last few months, from maybe from about March, when that was the first time players and staff hadn't been paid, that you just felt a little bit uneasy with what the future might entail. But we carried on. We didn't play particularly well the last few months. But the players, to be fair to them, got through the season, finished mid-table. We had a real critical time in January where maybe a little bit of investment, or just, I'm talking about investment when there's no money, but we just needed a player or two to really enhance where we were. I think we were 8th or 9th at that time. Didn't happen. And then I believe the relationship really broke down between Danny and the owner. And then it all pointed towards a sort of parting of the ways. But then I think what's still coming out now, I haven't been into the training ground for a number of weeks, is the lack of clarity and communication at the time. And to be honest, Mark, there's no one to speak to.
Yeah.
So this is the thing, the actual structure of the organisation doesn't lend itself to actually having a layer of sort of communication between players, manager and the ownership. There's no board of directors. There hasn't been a CEO there for a number of years. There's no, as it is these days, a sporting director. There was no head of...
There's none of that, Chris. There's no kind of executive level between head coach and owner and chair.
No. So the club, we brought in a consultant for head of recruitment, really, really good guy who helped out Danny and the coaching staff really well. But there's no board of directors. So the club is run by the owner, Chanziri, and there's a consultant who's sort of his link, and the club secretary. That's it.
So if there was a month, and there were several months of not getting paid, who do you ring?
No one. There's no one to ring. There's no one to speak to. Now it all falls on the shoulders of maybe the club secretary, and that's very difficult for her. She's very good. And HR. I mean, basically, people will get an email saying, we know times are hard and it's very difficult. We're trying to resolve the situation, but that's it. Mark, I haven't spoken
And
to
also,
anyone.
Chris,
Yeah.
that club secretary
Mm,
will have their own issues with not being paid. I'm
absolutely.
guessing.
Well, I would guess the same. But
Yeah.
we eventually got paid. Turn it back March, a few days into April. But then it was really when it happened in May and then June that then you actually realise that there's something serious going on. He's been there 10 years, and the lack of communication. So going back to that, the players then, as you can imagine, they just want some answers to a few questions. And I suppose what they're looking at is, who do we speak to? But then normally, and I've been a player many years ago, you would speak to the manager who would then, I've been in it myself many years ago as a manager, didn't get paid when I was at Southend. And of course, then it was on me to speak to the owner and chief exec. But Sheffield Wednesday, you have no one. And the owner, primarily, if he speaks to anyone other than the two or four people I mentioned, he would speak to the manager or the captain, Barry Bannon, maybe Liam Palmer, who's been captain, been there since he was 7. He's now in his 30s. He's a one club man for sure. But he wouldn't speak to anyone else. I never spoke to him in 20 months, not once. And I, whether that's culturally, whether that's just his way of working, I don't know, to be honest. But it's just very difficult, and you've got to imagine the young men are not sure where to turn to, and it's been a stress for them. Even though my contract was over at the end of June, I popped in on the first day of pre-season with a number of other staff members, just to lend some support. There wasn't much we could do, but I said to them, we haven't spoken to anyone, so come the 1st of July, we're walking away. So it's been a very stressful time for those players, for the support staff, for that football club. Brilliant people who embraced me from day one, but you feel helpless because you want to help them, Mark. But there's not much we can do. There's not much you can do.
Are you fearful for the club?
I am, but I truly believe it won't get to that stage. I believe a club of their stature will be able to attract some sort of investment. I'm led to believe there has been some people trying to acquire the club, but I don't know where that gets to. I believe the EFL have made a statement recently about they've made contact with advisors of Chanziri to almost force a sale through, a la Reading, in that sort of style. So I'm fearful when I see players leave, because obviously when you're not paid 2 months in a row, then you can hand in your notice. We've seen that with Josh Windass, Michael Smith. I believe you may see that again in a week or two, that another player or players will do the same thing. They're fearful for their futures because they're not sure exactly what the future actually holds for the club. So they made a statement last week with the Burnley game, but I know that the players that are there, they will play in the game against Leicester. They will turn up for sure, because they feel they have to. They have to make a stand that actually we're still going to play for the club, and we'll see what the future holds.
I mean, you mentioned the Reading situation there. I mean, Reading, the fear, I would imagine, if you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan, is that Reading went to the brink several times, didn't they? And constantly had points deductions and wages not being paid. And it took the very final chance, probably, to get that club sold. I mean, I was going to ask you, but you haven't talked to him, so you will have no idea, really. The reports are that he's willing to sell, but offers haven't been accepted, have they?
No. So, but no one knows, Mark. This is I suppose, the real upsetting part of all this is that actually it's the not knowing. It's the not knowing if you're going to get paid, not knowing if it's going to be sold, not knowing if we can fulfill a fixture. It's the not knowing for the players, staff, and the supporters, because they turn up in the droves, Mark. I mean, I'll be amazed if Sunday's game is not sold out.
Yeah.
But maybe because it's an away game, they feel that they can all go. I dread to think what the atmosphere will be like the first home game with the North Stand apparently possibly being closed.
Yeah.
Because they make some noise, the fans there. So
that stand, Craig, just to give people an indication. So that North Stand is an enforced closure because of its, we are told, because of its structural integrity. Fans have bought season tickets in that stand, but they haven't been told what's going to happen to their seat. So there are fans in the dark there. It's over a 9,000 capacity stand, so that's an important stand. You know, if you just bring it down to football and support, it's important for the players and the club. But it's just another. I mean, that place will seethe with anger, I am guessing, at the first home match, and also confusion.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for them all, Mark, but
no.
What I do know from my time there, it is an important stand. It's very vociferous. They make themselves heard, especially at kickoff, but during the game as well. So they've parted with their hard-earned money to watch their team, but where they're going to sit. And you can imagine, Mark, a lot of people sit in the same seats for years. They sat with their dad, their parents, their granddad, other family members and friends, and now they're going to move. But to where? Do you move behind the goal? Do they put you in the away stand? And obviously they're trying to do that now. I'm sure they are. I'm not sure who's leading that, but they're doing that. But it's just a real bizarre situation. And the lack of investment now over the 10 years, initially I know he definitely spent money. They got in the playoff final and got in the playoffs very early on. But then I suppose when Darren Moore, when the team went down, when actually they should have stayed up, Darren Moore did a great job. But because the stadium was sold in the wrong tax year, financial year, and he sold it to himself, they had a points deduction, which invariably brought them down. But Darren Moore, again, got them back up. As we all know, the game against Peterborough, the semi, and then Barnsley, 2 weeks later, he's gone. Now, that in itself will tell you, well, the manager has brought you up. Surely he's got the club and the team and the supporters exactly where they should be. He leaves, and then the decline and the lack of investment into the training ground, into the stadium, obviously with the North Stand, but countless issues. Just then slowly the lack of plan or vision really then has got the club to where it is now. It's so disappointing, and I'm not even a supporter of 30, 40 years.
You've been round the block a few times in
Speak
football.
for yourself, chappers.
Yeah. Are you, and you mentioned Southend there, and we've mentioned Reading. Morecambe are on the brink in the National League at the moment.
Yeah.
Spoken about Sheffield Wednesday. I recall the Shrewsbury owner last year under a lot of pressure saying football clubs can't be owned by local businessmen, or business women anymore.
Yeah.
I know Chancery isn't local in that sense. Are you surprised? And yet we're told PSR is meant to be the Premier League is meant to make everybody financially responsible. It's meant to be an independent regulator, fit and proper persons, all of that. I can't work out whether we should be surprised that this situation doesn't happen more, or whether we should be furious that this situation happens at all. Maybe it's both. I don't know.
It's a good point, Mark, because I think we know football in itself is quite a unique business in how it's run, how it's supported. it shouldn't be supported by one person and you're reliant on that person. I don't believe, because as is happening now, the minute they say I'm bored of this or I'm not prepared to put any more money into it, and I'm in debt and I'm borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, and it shouldn't happen. But we've accepted it. We have over the years. We have, because of maybe the riches that could be earned, especially coming out the Championship to the Premier League. But I think if you have a plan, and people may scoff at what Wrexham have done and what Birmingham are doing. I live in the Midlands, so I see it all the time. But both clubs have actually had a plan, and they've been hurt at the start. Wrexham missed out on the playoffs initially. Birmingham got relegated.
Yeah.
They've both had a plan, whether it's commercial, like Wrexham, and rightly so. Birmingham have a billionaire owner, but obviously he has a plan to be at the very top. But he's doing it that actually we're going to invest in the team, we're going to invest into the community, into the structure of the stadium, the training ground. So actually, when you see it, I think you buy in. I really do, Mark. I think the people of Birmingham would have been sceptical originally, but then actually, when they're seeing all these changes, they're actually seeing that someone is doing something for them. I think football has eaten itself a lot in respect of people come in, they flash the cash, they pass their test. And I know that the test has changed somewhat in the last 10 years. There's now a regulator, but they really need to start banging heads now. They really need, because we can't keep having every year. And Mark, let's be frank, it's Sheffield Wednesday and Morecambe now. It quite easily could be another Championship, League One, League Two club in 6 months' time, or next season.
Yeah.
So actually, for me, it's a tipping point. It has to be. We've seen it too often with Bolton, with Reading. We've seen it too often with Wigan. It shouldn't happen. It just shouldn't happen, and we have to cut our cloth accordingly. But what happens is, when you're allowed to spend, when you have PSR, when people get around it, when they sell hotels to themselves or do whatever they have to do to get around it, then there comes a point where you can't do it anymore. So what's next? You have contracts to fulfill, and they've been signed. But then the minute you don't pay someone to do their job, whether it's on the pitch or off, you have a problem, because you may not invest in the community. You may not be from there, but actually, I mentioned Birmingham and Wrexham, and I know everyone, there'll be people that don't like what they're doing, but actually they've gone, we need to buy into what this area means to the people, what this football club means. But Chanziri hasn't done that at Sheffield. That's quite clear. Quite clear.
Chris, not the greatest circumstances to chat, but it's lovely to see you. Hopefully see you soon. Take care. Thank you.
No problem. Anytime.
Cheers, Chris.
Thank you.
The Sports Agents
with Gabby Logan and Mark Chapman.